Hi everyone, Sandy here. Welcome to my second tutorial using the Authentic Romance paper collection from a design team pack from Country Craft Creations. And today I'm going to show you how to make a really simple mini folio with a waterfall. And I've got quite a few of the cut aparts still left from the collection. Some scraps of paper. I have my elements to punch out. I have some bigger scraps of the paper, and I have like one sheet of the paper left. And then I'm also going to use some of the Authentic Spectrum, possibly the black cream, and I have a little bit of red left. So that's what I'm going to be using to make this folio. This is my second project. This is what I have left of the paper. And I've decided to use the burgundy artisan cardstock from Country Craft Creations. I'll also be using 1/4 inch score tape sheets, and my art glitter glue to do the basic part of this. So let's get started. I've already pre-cut my chipboard, and I forgot to tell you, you need a sheet of chipboard. So I have two that are 6 inches by 8 inches, and then you need one that's cut 1.5 by 8 inches. So if you have a scrap that you can cut that out, or you may be able to get a full one. I can't remember how I cut that. I've also already put these score tape sheets on the back to make it quicker. And then go ahead and cut your cardstock to wrap the cover. You need one that is 12 inch by 10 inch and one that is 4 3/4 by 10 inch. So let me turn on another light. Maybe that'll help with some of the shadowing. I don't know. A little bit better. Okay, so we have those already pre-cut, and we're ready to get started on wrapping the cover. So you take your 12 inch piece, you want it a long ways like this, and then you want to match up the 4 3/4 here at the top so that you have 10 inches here. So just take your art glitter glue and run a line right along the edge. And we're going to overlap that. I've got a little bit too much right there. Take this piece and at about 1/8 of an inch, just overlap to where that glue is. And then wipe your excess glue off, and then grab the bone folder and burnish. So I'm going to turn this over and get a good burnish on that. So this is how we're going to wrap it. So you have it laid out this way. You want to make sure when you're placing your pieces that this seam is like in the solid parts. So I'm going to have it here on the back side. So I cut this so we have about 1 inch all the way around. So I'm going to grab my ruler and place it on the bottom at 1 inch mark all the way across. And then I'm going to grab my pencil, and I'm just going to mark me a placement line. And I only do that on one side, so this will work just fine. Make sure that I can see it. So I have a 1 inch mark all along the bottom edge. So I'm going to take this first one. I had to piece it together because I had leftover scraps, and I don't want to waste any of this. So let me grab these. Let me get a pick to help pull this off. Makes it real quick and easy to just lift it up. That one kind of folded up. There we go. And then this one here. This gives you a really smooth placement of your chipboard down onto your cover material. So I'm going to take the first one. Now you could have drawn a 1 inch here on the side, but I'm pretty good at eyeballing it. It doesn't have to be exact, but I'm just lining it up here on the bottom to make sure that it is straight. So there we go. Take your 1/4 inch score tape, turn this around, and you're going to place this right up against your chipboard onto your cardstock for a placement guide. Just like that. burnish that in with my fingers. You can use your bone folder to burnish it too, to make sure it sticks down good. Now you want to take your 1.5 inch piece. It's going to go right there. So I'm going to pull the score tape backing off. And place this one right along that edge where I drew my mark, right up against that score tape spacer there. Okay, and now we're ready to put one more 1/4 inch space here. Again, right up against the chipboard onto the cardstock. And our last piece will go, and you will see here's the seam. See the seam? So this one will position so that it is in the main body here, and it won't cause any problems where the folds are. Okay, this is the last one. Line it up on that line, right up against the score tape, and burnish. So then I'm going to turn it over and give it a burnish here on the back side as well, or the outer side of your cover. Okay, so now we're ready to fold this up. And if that's not glued really good there, where that seam is, add some more glue. You want to make sure it stays stuck. So I'm going to give it a minute here on this side. Burnish it some more. Maybe I didn't burnish it enough. Let's check this one. So we'll fold this up and get us a fold line going. And this side. And also the ends. And you may have a different way of mitering your corners, and that's fine. For me, I have found that cutting out the corners works better for me, so I just cut along those fold lines and cut this corner out. And you'll cut these out on all 4 corners of your cover. Okay, so now we're going to check to see if we need to line up miter or angle cut. So fold one down over the cover, put your scissor right at the corner right here, and just do a small little sliver. You have to flip this one over and do it the opposite way. Okay, now we're ready to stick these edges down. Before we do that, we need to go ahead and take these backings off, leaving the sticky spacing here. And I'm going to work on this one long side first. See if my glue comes out okay. Okay, I'm going to put a line of glue right along the top edge of the chipboard onto the cardstock where the fold is. And then you can put glue on your flap. Now if you want to use score tape for this step, that is perfectly fine. think the gluing is a little bit faster. Holds just as well. You just have to hold it down and burnish so that glue grabs. There we go. I also kind of run my bone folder across the top edge here. And here where the sticky tape is, just gently fold, press down that cardstock so it sticks. And then do the other side the same way. And do the sides. Make sure you put that bead of glue, line of glue, right up against the chipboard in the fold line. And I would suggest you do that even if you're using score tape, that you put a line of glue right there. Gently bend this and burnish these again right there. Don't bend too hard, just let it work its way over. And there we have the cover. Now we're ready to put cardstock on the inside. So let me grab that and I'll cut that and give you the measurements. For the inside of our album, we need two that are 7.5 by 6 3/4. Cut out of the cardstock, solid cardstock. Now if you have just score tape sheets, you can use those to put these down. I am out of it, so I need to order some more. So I'm going to go ahead and use glue. So just put a good coverage of, now I could use my smaller score tape, but I'm just going to use a good coverage of glue here, around the perimeter and all in the inside. And then I'm going to line this up about 1/4 inch from the top, 1/4 inch from the side, and 1/4 inch from the bottom. This should put this seam right in the middle of the spine section. And of course we're going to be covering this with pattern paper. So we'll do the other side the same way, and so that they meet right in the center. Let me get my glue on there and stick this one down. And where these fold lines are, where your score tape is in the space, just gently burnish that to get that stuck down in there, to get the fold of your cover. Lifting it up slightly. I like these type of bone folders where they're not as sharp as the ones you use for scoring. I have this style, and then I also have this one that works really well also. Just make sure the point doesn't go into your cardstock. And then once that's dry, and just gently bend up. And train it to bend. And there is our folio cover. You will need to decide before you do any patterning whether you want a ribbon closure or a wrap magnet closure. I think on mine I'll be using probably a ribbon closure, which I'll put down before I do the pattern paper. For the flap on the left side of our folio, you need to cut 2 out of cardstock that are 7.5 by 6.5. And then you're going to score these. So get your scoreboard, and you're going to score the 6.5 inch side. Put 6.5 inch at the top. You're going to score at 1/2 inch, just on one side. And do that to both pieces. 6.5 at the top, score at 1/2 inch. Take your bone folder, fold the score line, burnish it really well. Go ahead and burnish both directions. Fold it and burnish it both directions on both of these. This is to make sure that they fold back and forth really well. Okay, take your book. I'm putting the seam at the back, so open that up. And we're going to put one of these on the left side. We want it as far to the left as we can, so it's not into the fold of the book. Take your glue, apply it to the back side of the flap. So here's your back side of your flap. Fold it over, then put the glue on. And line it up. Attach it to the left edge of your cover. And center it from top to bottom the best you can. It's about 1/4 inch from the bottom and 1/4 inch from the top. Open it up and burnish. For your next flap, we're going to open this up and we're going to put it on the edge of this one. Then once we attach it, we'll double check and see if we need to trim just a hair off of that side. So go ahead and get your glue, and with your hinge folded back, add glue to the 1/2 inch hinge. And then I'm going to turn this so I can see it just a little bit better. And along the cut edge of the first flap, attach the fold of this one right on the edge. And get it on straight. Burnish that in really good. And so now you have a folding flap. And mine seems to work okay folding down, just like that. So now you're ready to add some pattern paper. We'll also be doing a waterfall over here, but I'm going to go ahead and pattern these sections here. So you've got this one, this, inside. I'm real short on paper, so I'm probably going to use some of the spectrum. And then this side here, I'm not putting a closure on this. I am going to make a pocket with some of the cut aparts. So I'm going to do that off camera, so just measure. Like for this one here, where it is 6 inches wide, cut it 5 and 7, your pattern paper 5 and 7/8, and then this one where it is 7 1/2, you'd cut that at 7 3/8. This one here, I kind of got it off here where I can see the seam, so I'm going to make it a little bigger. Where it's 8, I'm going to make it 7 7/8, so you'll have some pattern paper on the outer edges here. Okay, so I'll be back in a little bit. To show you real quick before I put my pattern papers on the cover, spine and the back, what I'm doing for my closure. I am using ribbon, but I decided to use double seam binding ribbon. So I have put 2 strips on the front, 2 strips on the back. I like to wrap it and put the paper over it. It kind of makes it stronger. That way I don't have to worry about it pulling loose. So I'm going to go ahead and take just this one top one off. And make sure you leave enough to tie a pretty bow if you want. So I'm going to leave a good 12 inches extended from the end. And I'm just going to place this one right here. Now this will be covered by paper. So I don't have tape on this spine section, and that's okay. I'm going to peel the top one off the back and bring my first ribbon all the way around. Pull it tight across the back because it's going to be under the paper and you want it to be smooth. And then just attach it down here. And I'm going to hold it out and cut the ribbon the same length. And then the other one's going to be beige. This is seam binding ribbon that you can order from Country Craft Creations. You can leave it smooth like this, or you can spritz the ends up with water to make them more vintage looking. I'll decide on that later. So I'm going to take this bottom one off and grab the beige one. And I want the same length of ribbon. So I'm just measuring it here. Okay. So right here, I'm going to put this down right up against with the other one. Just like that. And again, like I said, this will be covered. So bring it around to the back. Pull your tape backing off. And pull it tight straight across the spine. And then bring it down. Line it up with this first one. So I'm using burgundy and beige ribbon. So let's cut this beige one where it needs to be. About right here. Okay, let's save the rest for tags and things we might make for inside of our book. Pick up my backings here. So here is this, just like that. And this is going to tie here on the side. Now then, I have pattern paper that I had enough of this that I want on the front. And I've cut mine 7 7/8 tall. And then measure this. It is, the back one is a little wider. So make sure you always measure. This is 5 7/8 with a 6-inch wide cover here. I'm going to ink the edges and glue these down over the ribbons on the front, the spine, and the back. Okay, so there's my folio patterned on the front, the back, spine, and the back. So I did it like that. So this is how the ribbons look, the double combined together, tied together, and then you just undo that. So I'm usually tie them together on one end when I'm all finished and decorating the front. So what I've done so far on the inside is pattern the inside here. This is where the waterfall is going to go. So I need to decide what to do with these flaps, and I'll do that off camera. I may be piecing different pattern papers together. I am going to make a pocket out of a cut apart here, possibly one here, and I will share that with you in a bit. Now we're ready to make the waterfall flaps. I have the outside again patterned on the front, the spine, and the back. I use the Spectrum black dot, the licorice color. You open this up. So I've already patterned my left side and my spine. I did use the stripe of the licorice for the Spectrum on the inside. Here on the flaps, I used the same paper, pattern paper, and made a pocket and added a cut apart. I decided I wanted one all the way across. This is a graphic 45 tag covered with the Spectrum dot paper. Added the ribbon and lace, and then glued a flower on the top. So that just kind of helps hold everything down. This flap's open. These are scraps that I had, so I used scraps to piece these. So you just measure and lay it out. And I did the same on the inside and here. And then used a circle punch, a 1-inch, to do a thumb notch here. This is pattern paper. I fussy cut along the lace edge of this same paper here, just for the black lace. This is a cut apart. I made a booklet with a cut apart and some of the elements punched out. So this is for photos, so this just slides in right there. So that's the left side, what I have done so far. I'm going to put the waterfall here on the right side, and I've pre-cut the papers for that. So let's get them prepped and ready to go. And lay this aside. I have the burgundy artisan cardstock, and you do need 8 of those, 4 1/4 by 4 3/4. We'll be scoring those. And then I need, from my pattern paper, I was able to get the base. You can make your waterfall base out of cardstock if you want. I'm going to use pattern paper, so I needed one that's 4 1/4 by 8. And then for the first waterfall for the front, I'm using one that's 4 by 4. So I'm going to set these aside while I get my scoreboard. And we get ready to score our waterfall flaps. So you take your 4 3/4 inch side, put it in at the top of your scoreboard, and just score at a 1/2 inch on each one. Again, 4 3/4 at the top, score at 1/2 inch, just on one side only. So I'm going to go ahead and do all of these right quick. And again, we have 8 of them. Okay, so now we're ready to fold and burnish that fold line. So do that on all 8. I'm going to go ahead and fold and burnish. I'm going to double check these, make sure that all of them have a 1/2 inch flap. Okay, it looks like they do. So let's take these. Let's grab the pattern paper that's 4 1/4 by 8. And I'm just going to push it up on the side and at the top. This will help line up my waterfall. And now we're going to start at the very top. Your glue will just go on the folded down side of your 1/2 inch flap right here. So I'm going to line this up, push this in right at the top, make sure it's straight and even, and then lift it up and burnish. And you push it back. The second one will go right along the cut line of the first one. Same principle, add your glue to the folded down back side of the flap. Push that right up against that cut line. Double check, you should have a 1/2 inch down here. Burnish, lift up, burnish, and repeat. I'm just going to move this down a little bit to keep my line here. So I'm going to add all 8. If they will all fit, I think they will. Keep my fingers crossed. I used 2 sheets of cardstock to cut these. I could get 4 out of one 12 by 12, so I went ahead and cut 8. Presuming that I could fit these all on this base piece. If not, I will save it for another project or find a place for it in this folio. This back. So let's grab this book and open it up. So this is where it's going to fit. So yes, you only want to do 8, otherwise it will not fit. And you can choose to cut this off, which I am going to do. Find my big scissors for a straight cut. You can do this on your trimmer. I'm going to flatten it down, make sure I've got it lined up right. And I'm just going to trim that off right across the bottom, and then ink the bottom edge of where I cut. Okay, so that is the waterfall pages on a base, ready to go into the book. So you need to decide on a closure. And I think I want ribbon again. Okay, for this, I found my ribbon, and I have enough, but I think I'm going to split and not go the whole length, but I am going to use the score tape again. And I am going to use the 2 ribbon colors, just like I did on the cover. So I like this. I'm going to ink the edges real quick. I am using Color Philosophy by Prima ink pads. This is the Potion color. You can order these from countrycraftcreations.com. And I just use the felt pad to ink all my edges for a project. Some glue on this, and then we will tie it up, and then we will glue it into the folio. Okay, so this one's going to go right here at the top. Now this is what I do when I am running out of pattern paper to finish up the waterfalls. Sometimes I just leave them the cardstock color because you're going to add photos. You can decide to add a little strip of scraps of paper on the very edge and leave it for the photos, top and bottom. So that's something you can decide later depending on how many photos you've got and the look you want. So I am just going to go ahead and tie this right here. And I think I had a little more extra of the cream, so I'm just doing an angle cut on the ends. Just like that. So this is going to go into the book. So let's bring the book here. And I'm going to use my scoreboard to help me keep the book straight and exactly where I want to put this. So, putting glue on the back. Okay, and here we go. I want a little bit of space at the top, equal at the top and the bottom, and center it side to side, and burnish that down. So I'm going to tie this now so I can reach down here and burnish this really well. Make sure it's in. And then also between each flap, you want to make sure it's sticking down and it's going to stay. Okay, that's the waterfall. And you tie it up. And like I said, if you want to add strips of scraps of paper along the bottom edges, leave the top part just the cardstock, you can do that. And I may do that off camera. I'll just have to look and see how much scraps I've got. Because I do have to do one more little project, not a tutorial, but I'll probably be making some Valentine cards out of what I have left. Okay, so after I assembled my cover and added my flaps and pockets on the left side and then the waterfall, I decided that I had intended to do a flap closure on the waterfall side. And I've used a ribbon, which is okay. But I design my projects, I video them as I design them. So sometimes I have some changes. I don't make one and then redo. I only do one project when I'm designing a project. So what I'm going to do is show you how I am going to fix by adding in this closure flap on the over the waterfall pages. Ideally, you will want to do yours before you pattern either the inside or the back side of your cover, whichever one you want, where you want to put it. I'm going to be putting mine on the back side because that's the easiest for me because I've already done the waterfalls. And then I may either put some trim or repattern that back side. So you need two pieces of cardstock. You need one that is 5 inches by 6 and one that is 1 inch, excuse me, you need one at 9 inches by 6 inch. 9 inch by 6. So you're going to score these, put the 9-inch side into your scoreboard, the 9-inch at the top, score at 1/2 and 1, and you put your 5-inch one in at the top, score it at 1/2 and 1. Fold these up so that you have a 1/2 inch space here and a 1/2 inch flap. Because what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to use a die, my die cutter. and I'm going to use a topper die. This is a Sizzix topper die, and I'm going to do a decorative flap. So I'll be right back with that. So here's my topper die cut out for the top side, and this is for the bottom. This is going to go inside over the waterfalls. So let me grab my album, and as you see, I already have mine put together here. Ideally, you would put this on before adding your pattern paper and your waterfall, or you could also put it on the outside, which is what I'm going to do. However, mine is already patterned, but that's okay because once I attach it, I'm going to add either some trim strips of paper or repattern this. So turn this over so I can get this on here correctly, and I'm going to double check and make sure that everyone fits the way I want it to. So this one's going to go here at the top. And this one will go here at the bottom. Should come up the full length right here. And this is going to give us more real estate for more photos or notes. So this will go here. Just trying to line it up. Okay. And this one will go right there. And it will have a magnet closure. So I'm going to attach these down. Turn this over here, move my ribbons out of the way. So open this back. You have your 1/2 inch here towards the decorative top. You want to put the glue on this bottom 1/2 inch piece if you're putting this on the back. So I'm just going to put glue on this 1/2 inch hinge part. Turn this so I can see what I'm doing. And this is going to attach right along the edge. And I know it's getting everywhere here on the back, but that'll wipe off. I'm just going to make sure it is attaching where that fold line comes, right there. Oops. So I've got to make sure. I'm going to flatten it down so I can burnish it good, and it's over the fold. The fold is right along the top edge. Whoops, I'm off camera. The fold is right along the top edge. See, I flattened it down that one, and I'm burnishing it on the back. These are some of the things you have to do, especially if you're designing and something, you forget something or you've changed your mind, you think you would like it better that way. Now reposition your fold line, and we have that closure there on the inside. So we're going to do the same thing for the other, oops, the bigger piece. So the glue is going to go where it folds in. Open this up, this one on the outer edge. And it's real important with this one to get them lined up. Turn it this way, and it is going to probably go over that sticker that I added on, and that's okay. Just going to recover all of that. So make sure it is fitting down and it matches up with my top piece. Okay. That should work. So burnish that really well, especially back here on the back. Let's see here. Lined up a little bit better here. You have to lift it up, just use some glue. And if you have trouble with the glue, getting it lined up, you might want to use score tape in case you need to use some undo. So I don't have that quite on as straight as I wanted, or as tight right there. Pull this one up on this side also. A little more glue. And trust me, this would have been so much easier if I had thought to do this prior to patterning and everything. Okay, so that should work. Just burnish that down really well. Let's see. Hopefully everything lines up. Just like that. So there we go. Reposition this 1/2 inch spacing to accommodate our waterfall underneath. And now I'm going to grab my magnet. I'm going to use one large magnet set. I need a plus and a minus. So attach the two together. With the papers on the outside, there's the plus and there's the minus. Flip this back. Peel the backing off of one. Attach it down at least 3/4 of an inch from the center there, because I want to be able to put some paper on it. And then I'm going to line this up carefully, making sure that everything lines up side to side. Push that down and then gently lift up. There we go. And I'm going to put just a little bit of score tape on over each magnet to secure them while I'm getting my pattern paper ready. So now I have some big areas here I need to cover, and I don't have any big pieces of the pattern collection left. So I'm going to probably be using some more of the black for that. And so like this folds in and this folds this way. And then we have like a box look right here on the edge. So I'm going to get that all patterned and then I'll share that with you. Okay, so I got my album, my little folio all finished, and I will do a separate showcase video to go through it in more detail. I just want to show you real quick how I finished it on the inside. This is the front that I did. This has a magnetic bow, so I'll share more about that. I did add pieces here on the back to cover up where I made a mistake, where I had to add the flaps on the inside. For the flaps on the inside. So untie this. This is how it looks on the inside. This clips off. And I've patterned that inside. And like I said, I'll go through this in more detail in a separate video. So I like to clip these guys right up in here somewhere. Okay. And then this is what I was talking about. I said I would show you once I patterned it. So I used the black stripe here at the top. And then I use the red dots on the bottom, some of the cutter parts. This flips up and down. And then I added pattern paper just on the strips. So let me slide that up so you can see it. So that completes this project. It's a real easy, quick, easy to make mini folio. It's great for a Valentine, a special Valentine present. So I will do a separate showcase video. This concludes the tutorial, and thank you so much for watching. And make sure you shop at countrycraftcreations.com. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.